Hello students, I am Dr. Urvashi Sinha, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Patna Women's College. Today, I'll discuss some plant adaptations and its types in various conditions. So what are adaptations? Adaptations are special features that allow a plant or an animal to live in a particular place or habitat. These adaptations might make it very difficult for the plant to survive in a different place. For example, the seaweeds is a plant adapted for underwater and a cactus is a plant adapted for the desert. Therefore, it is the condition of the habitat that leads to adaptive features in plants. There are three types of adaptations. First is the structural adaptation, second the behavioral adaptation, and third is the physiological adaptations. Each type of these plant adaptation provides the plant with some advantage that increases its chances of survival. So the first type is the structural adaptation. It is a physical feature that an organism has evolved in order to survive. So in plants, this could include adaptation for food, adaptation for water, and adaptation for space. Some plants have brightly colored flower that attracts insects for pollination. This is a structural adaptation for reproduction. For defense, plants like cactus and rose develop spine and thorns. So the second type is the behavioral adaptation, in which the plant does something to improve for survival. Example of this is a plant that grows towards the sun or close their leaves during the hot times in day. These behavioral changes help the plant to carry out its normal life cycle in the condition of its habitat. The third type of adaptation is the physiological adaptations. These are something that happens within to change the chemical processes going on inside itself in plants. Example of this is presence of photosynthetic pigments in the stem when there are no leaves. Physiological adaptation is seen in plants in the creation of poison for defense so that it is not consumed by any predator. So there are multiple ways a plant can adapt more specifically to their environment. The plant adaptation depends on the type of environment they live in, the nutrient supply available to them, and the protection the plant needs against any predator. Plants living in water are called hydrophytes. Living in water does present challenges to plants. Aquatic plants are able to survive in water due to a variety of adaptations. Many aquatic plants have leaves that are coated with a waxy substance that helps to prevent water loss. Other aquatic plants have leaves that are floating on the surface of the water, which helps to maximize the amount of light that they are able to receive. Additionally, the roots of aquatic plants are often specialized in order to help them absorb nutrients from the water. However, for one thing, that is pollination by wind or animals, isn't feasible underwater. So the aquatic plants may have adaptations that help them keep their flowers above water. For instance, water lilies have bowl-shaped flowers and broad, flat leaves that float. This allows the lilies to collect the maximum amount of sunlight, which does not penetrate very deeply below the water's surface. Plants that live in moving water, such as streams and rivers, may have a different adaptation. For example, the cattails have narrow strap-like leaves that reduce their resistance to the moving water. The plants that live in extremely dry environment have the opposite problem: how to get and keep water. Look closely at the petals of this flower in the figure. Do they look different? This flower is from an aloe plant. Aloes are succulent plants which have adaptations that allow them to store water in their enlarged fleshy leaves, stems, or roots. This allows them to survive in arid environment. So the plants that are adapted to very dry environment, they are called as xerophytes. The saguaro cactus pictured in this figure below has adapted in all three ways. When it was still a very small plant, just a few inches high, its shallow roots already reached out as much as 2 meters from the base of the stem. Its widespread root system allows the cactus to gather as much as moisture as possible from the rare rainfalls that it receives. The cactus doesn't have any leaves to lose water by transpiration. It also has a large barrel-shaped stem that can store a lot of water. Thorns protect the stem from thirsty animals that might try to get at the water inside. These features help the plant to survive in the condition where there is scarcity of water. The epiphytes, they do not grow in soil, so they may not have roots. These elkhorns and staghorn ferns seen in the figure, they grow perched upon a rainforest tree as epiphytes. They obtain moisture from the air and make food by photosynthesis. Being elevated may also reduce the risk of being eaten by herbivores and increases the chances of pollination by wind. The leaves of the bromeliad shown in the figure below are rolled into funnel shapes to collect rainwater. The base of the leaves forms a tank that can hold more than 8 liters of water in the condition where there is no availability of water as the roots are in the air. So what we have learned in today's lecture? We have learned that plant lives in different habitat. Each habitat has its own set of environmental conditions. The primary reason plants adapt to their environment is to increase the chances of survival. These adaptations give the plants some advantage over other organisms in which the resources it needs to live. Charles Darwin also pointed out the same fact that only those species which have a high biological fitness, that is, the ability to adapt to changes in one's environment, will be selected by nature to pass on their genes to the next generation. So adaptations are basically the results of natural selection. So that is all for this lecture. Hope you found it interesting. Thank you so much.